office, please come to the press box to claim your prize.
Okay, I'm going to start with Mayor Lou, and I would like to know, what has the news media and the press done to cover this story?
The news media has been very biased. They blasted my name since 2013, weekly in the Wilkinson County Post. I must say that Judy Bailey, who is the editor of that newspaper, along with the chairman for the Democratic Party for the state of Georgia, Dubose Porter, has allowed this to go on. And the citizens now, the constituents of the county, are now fed up because there are other issues that take far more precedence in the news than about what is happening to the mayor of Gordon, Georgia. You would think.
Well, similarly to Mayor Lou, in my own particular city, it's a city of only 5,000 people, and there's just a single local newspaper, and the coverage in the local newspaper is consistently negative and subjective. Now, there are media outlets in Albany, which is 30 minutes away, and there's WALB. There are a lot of stations. They have been very fair in covering very positive things that I've done in the community. The fact that people who elected me, my approval among those people is enormously high. But if you looked at the Vanilla Enterprise, which is the local paper and a political paper, it only runs negative stories, as many negative stories about the mayor as they could run. And never in the history of the city has the local paper run negative stories on the mayor, except when the previous mayor was the first African-American mayor, a black female. Those same stories began. And in her tenure as mayor, my council asked her to resign. They didn't accuse her of any impropriety, but voted unanimously for her to resign. And the blacks on the council voted with them. So now I'm the second black mayor, and they are at the point where they're asking me to do the same thing. So it is clear that there are leaders there and individuals who simply don't want, and it's not the entire white community, but it is those who are, a part of the political leadership.
Wow, I am the poster model for the Times Enterprise, Thomasville, Georgia. I'm in the paper. The paper comes out 6 days out of the 7, and I can tell you I'm probably in there 4 days a week. And every time that I've been arrested, I've been blown up on the front page. And and they have a little rent and rape area. And here lately they've been saying there are more important things than what's going on with the mayor. They want other things in the paper, but every time they have an article, if they're talking about something with the council, they're already the Karen Murphy. She's going to bring up the fact that I've been arrested so many times. I allegedly stole $80, and I've been arrested by the chief, and that's why I'm trying to get rid of the chief.
This Thomasville Times Enterprise, that reporter that you just mentioned, is this the same reporter that also said that you had handcuffs on and had your hands over your face, and come to find out that the video showed that that was a complete lie?
The same lady.
Mayor Brown, we need to stay in this harness nest just a little longer, because I was at one of your meetings, and if I'm correct, what happened at that particular meeting was that there was the Equipment Free Press, I believe. I noticed that they did a full-page ad in the Equipment Free Press. I personally went to the editor and I asked them who paid for that ad. They couldn't tell me, and they couldn't furnish the phone number of who paid it. So I asked her, how much did it cost? And she said $1,000. What do you think about that ad, and who you think just may have published it, if you can say?
Well, I'll just tell you what I think. They would do anything, as Mayor Davis said. There was a pinwheel thing done for the child abuse month. We stood in front of the city hall and we took some pictures. You look in the newspaper, all you see is pinwheels in front of the city hall. And so I'm just saying, I think there's, as she said, there's a group of people that paid, because I think it was $996 to be exact.
She told me 1,000.
Oh, okay. Well, it's $1,000 for that, and no one has money and equipment like that. So I wouldn't doubt if the Equipment Free Press printed that for free. And I believe that they are. I learned in a political science class that they are supposed to be the watchdogs. They keep everybody in check. Well, there's nobody to keep the media in check. So they print these things. It's all twisted one-sided. After the meetings, they don't talk to me, but they'll have something on the front page, and it'll be that just one-sided. They don't ask me one question. So I try to figure out how can they print a one-sided article, and it's becoming so bad that someone has, I think they start May 1st. I can't even remember the name. I should have bought the flyer. They're going to start printing a free newspaper around there. I think they're going to put out about 4,000 papers, and this would be for the entire Brooks County. And they asked me if I wanted to have a little section, and I told them yes. So now the people can hear my voice and not just see what the Equipment Free Press wants to put out there. And it is a shame. It is a shame.
Mayor.
My newspaper's biased like that also too. We have did some great positive things in the community, and they never had done.
What's the name of your newspaper?
The Warrenton Clipper, and in that Warrenton Clipper, we even came out. Warrenton is. I did some research, and I hadn't found another city yet. We was the only city that did not have a school traffic light, the flashing beeping light. And I went to my council trying to get it, and then they were saying that it never happened, that we would never get one. And I asked the question why, and I asked all my council, do you have any kids in that school? None of my council, only one of the council has some relative people in that school, and all the rest of them going to private school or somewhere else. And I was concerned about the kids in our school, that no one was thinking about our kids. So I went to the school and the county commission, and we got together. So we do have a traffic light there now. But is it in the paper? No, it's not in the paper. They're protecting our kids. It doesn't have to make the paper as long as our kids is protected. That's what all works. And being biased in that part, yes, I think the press do not cover the things that we're doing, and I look at it at a point that if you're a black African American, they're not going to report anything positive about anything that you're doing in the community.
Mayor Davis, what has been said by the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, G.B.R? Has anything been said by them about the situation you're facing as mayor?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm 3 months into my tenure, and I have not had issues that have gone before any of these types of institutions, and I've only gone to trainings at the GMA, and they've been very nice trainings, and I think there's an issue not brought by me, but brought by citizens who are launching a recall in the city of Camilla for violations of open meetings laws, and I think that the State Attorney General's office is involved in that, and I hope that they're going to do the right thing. But if I could just say one thing, while we're on the subject of recall, Mayor Harris is going through this recall process, and in Megs it's very arduous. The media coverage is consistently negative. We have council persons going through this in Camilla, and it is completely different. Whereas she is vilified during the recall, they are not. In fact, our local paper reported a false story just recently, last week, that 3 of the white councils who are being recalled, that the petition failed to get the signatures, and that she was told this by the election superintendent. Well, the election superintendent is the one certified that the signatures were collected and sent it to Superior Court, where there is going to be a hearing and it is going on, it is proceeding. So why they would report a story that they didn't substantiate or, try to, deceive the public is baffling to me. But in answer to your question, I haven't had any dealings with those organizations.
And to piggyback off of what you just said about the recall, there is a process with that as well. And one reason why they're fighting us is because we don't give up. We have not given up. We're going to fight this fight. And the recall process, there are 3 phases to it. You get a certain percentage, I think it's 40%. The second time you have to get like 60% of petitioners. And then the third time they send it to, the third phase is they send it to the state so that they can get the, put it on the ballot and all of that. But it's according to who your election superintendent is as well.
Madam Mayor Harris, I must ask you this question. You've been arrested 4 times. I think 2 of your brothers, Calvin and Edward was also arrested. Like yourself, also put on criminal trespass, removed from your office several times. Do you think that's too much for an elected official by the majority vote to go through for $2,000 a year?
For how much?
$2,000 a year?
Who gets 2,000? You mean my bond or what? We don't get paid.
You don't get paid at all?
We don't get paid at all.
But why you do it?
Well, I do it because like you said, I had a platform. I wanted to help my citizens out there, my constituents. Megs needed a spokesperson. Every time I went to the council meetings, I've been going to council meetings now probably 10 years religiously. And the mayor that I defeated, she came against me because I questioned her integrity, I guess. I questioned the finances. When I go to council meetings, I don't just go to work. I'm writing down totals and everything, especially if you get a wind that funds are being misappropriated. So I started getting the totals, and the totals weren't coming out right. They were decreasing, but no activities going forward for the recreation. And those kids are my passion, So she fought me and said, when I tried to help the kids out and get funds for the recreation, she said, you have a private entity. We're not going to support that.
Okay, are you telling me, excuse me, I'm trying to stay focused as much as I can, but are you telling me that the council members, the mayor, the city clerk, and the attorney don't get paid?
Well, the city attorney gets paid very well. Everybody gets paid except for the mayor and the council.
Okay. And another thing, since we had it, do you think GMA know? Have you brought that up at GMA? Have you brought that up to Secretary of State, Attorney General, or the governor's office? Does anybody know that you all are like providing slave labor? And it seems like to me that should be a violation of the labor laws.
Exactly. And I feel that if it's a violation for a city employee, if we don't pay our city employees, which the chief of police called the labor board on me as well, saying that I didn't want to pay them for Thanksgiving. And I feel, and mind you, they were going to be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Their regular payday was that Friday. When they got off that Tuesday, is when we started having all our problems with the administration resigning. So we were just getting in, didn't know even who did the payroll. We had to find all that stuff out. So he immediately called anything to go against me. He wanted to do that. So, and I feel like if he can call the labor department, labor union, there should be somewhere or somebody that we can call and reference that.
Well,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Wait, he had one. Go
I
ahead.
just want to say something right quick.
Sorry.
I thought in order for someone to be an employee, that they had to at least receive $1 payment. There had to be some kind of contract, and it had to be, what's the word, monetary, I guess. So I thought a lot of senators and stuff say they'll take the position for only $1 a year. So I don't know how you're getting nothing to go through all of this. And if you want to go to training, if they don't pay for it, you can't even pay for it with the money that the city's giving you because they're not giving you any money. So I don't know exactly what they're trying to do and what they expect, because I think there were some cities that are arguing right now, get full-time counsel and they'll do a better job instead of volunteers that are trying to do what they can in the spare time that they have with the money that they do or don't have. So I think we do need to check on that.
And I think to add to what you're saying, Mayor, to sum it all up, since we are not getting any answers here in the state of Georgia, maybe we might all need to get together and just ride to Washington, D.C.
Exactly. And
address our issues.
And I think what he said has valid point, because our city administrator, he's very knowledgeable about city government. He worked for the state of Maryland and some in the District of Columbia. So when he came in, we did his contract. He's working for $1. So he knows something about that dollar rule.
Yes.
That he's not telling us. But I mentioned us getting paid. In fact, it's in the minutes that I came across last night, me asking city attorney for us to get, for the council to get paid, the mayor and council, and he says it has to go on the ballot, but it's in our charter, okay? If you says there's a provision in our charter for a city manager, there is a provision, it's already established in our charter for us to be getting paid.
Okay, enough of that. Let's let Ms. Davis continue. Let's move forward. Thank you, enough of that.
Okay, so I think everybody got a chance to comment on that. I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to start with you, Mayor Harris. And I want to know, are they aware of these problems at the Department of Justice? And what about Loretta Lynch? Is she aware of what's going on with you and your property?
And I think that's what Mayor Whippley was just saying. This group right here can be the start of something big, you know, because I'm quite sure there are more cities going through this than what we're going through, but somebody's got to put it out there. It has to start from somewhere. As far as Loretta Lynch, I've thought about calling her, but right now I'm battling something, you know, trying to stay out of jail right now, and there are funds that's got to be generated for that type stuff. I mean, even for gas, and even to come to this, you know, facility, it wasn't free. Our city don't support these type things, so. You know, it's going to take a coalition to get all of that stuff in place, you know, that we need for support.
Mayor Davis, there's a possibility that somebody probably would say, well, don't call the federal government because this is state, and everybody's talking about state rights. But when we talking about the election of a mayor and council, are we not dealing with voting rights? And if they are trying to remove people from office, wouldn't that possibly fall under the federal government, under the Voting Rights Act?
Absolutely. We're dealing with constitutional issues here. And when you speak of the Department of Justice, one of their largest divisions is the protection of civil rights. And anyone who has a property interest that is being infringed upon has the right to redress it. And so this is absolutely a great idea in terms of, to the extent that black mayors are under assault and discriminated against, they have a property interest in this, and this is a violation of civil rights. And at the federal level, you often can get some semblance of justice that you can't get often at the state level, because we are politics, and depending on whose politics, which side of the political side you're on, justice looks different.
And how many of us has Tommy Coleman as the city attorney?
Pardon?
You too?
Yes.
You have Tommy Coleman? Are you serious? He come that far?
And just think, it's got to be a firm representing these cities. Tommy Coleman can't, you know, probably represent all of us at the same time. And that's where, if our city is if we're getting federal funds, that involves, you know, the Washington, because where do our funds come from? They have to trickle down from somewhere.
And if I could just say this, I know that we touched on this, but I just want to put it in perspective, because I do have a little insights on this as far as the compensation of elected officials. An elected official doesn't necessarily have to be compensated. You can take the job voluntarily, but almost every charter in the state of Georgia has a provision whereas the council can set the compensation for their elected officials. And once, and the state law says that once you set your salary, it cannot go into effect until you face the voters again in another election. So they can kind of react to what you've set your salary, to where you've set your salary. So I just want to say that. And the other thing I like to say is that the salaries of elected officials is a very important issue, because historically that was used as a tool where in my own city as mayor, I think I earn about $3,600 a year. Now, what does that do? For a person who can't devote their time, it's a full-time job,
Yes, it is.
even when it's a part-time job, so to speak.
Exactly.
So if a person can't afford that, then you're discouraging people from taking place and being representative in politics because they're not rich or retired. And it favors that. And that has been a long tool that a lot of states have used, like the state of Texas. They were paying their state senators something like almost $200 or $300 a month or something trivial. But that has long been a very big problem. So it is very important that government has salaries for officials who are stewards of the public.
Thank you very much.